Shalom, shalom. Another interview, and I have a real special guest today. Have Prince Immanuel up in here. We're gonna talk about some real exclusive things, dealing with our people in general, just dealing with the times that we in, and just dealing with, Hebrew Israelites uniting underneath a declaration, because I believe that's important. And I believe that Dimona has a real good model that can be replicated throughout other Hebrew Israelite organizations to use to be self-governing. Because before we can get self-reliant, we have to be self-governing first. And I believe Dimona has that down pat when it comes to self-governing yourself with the different institutions that's out here and been working for over 50 years. So, and I really, mean what I say about that, because I'm out here in the midst of it and I see, So, with that being said, let's go into these questions. But first, can you introduce to the viewers who you are, what you do? Tell them a little bit about your background and how you got connected with the kingdom out here.
Well, before I do that, first I would like to give all honor and praise to Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, His anointed Son and servant Ben-Ami, to the Holy Council, divine ministers, crown saints, all the brothers and sisters who stand for righteousness. I greet you in peace, brother Shalom, and welcome you to the Holy Land. Introducing myself, I am Prince Immanuel ben Yehuda, a member of the Holy Council of the Kingdom of Yah, whose responsibility is to continue to ensure the spiritual guiding body of the community, who's responsible for continuing our direction, remains in harmony with the will of the Most Holy. I was born in the Midwest in the state of Oklahoma. I went to university in Wichita State University in Kansas, where I got a degree in journalism. Then I went to, I was on football scholarship, and then I went to Baylor University, where I did a master's degree in international journalism, which included required a internship out of the country. And that is how I made it to the Holy Land back in the late 70s. And it was during that time that I met the community here in Dimona, as I was moving around the country writing articles and doing things like that. People kept asking, well, do you know the community in Dimona? And I would say, no, tell me something about it. And they would tell me something that just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And I said, I need to go see for myself. And when I did come, I was blown away, and really excited about what I saw. Even though it was very young in the embryonic stages, I saw our people committed to the principles of making real the laws of Yah in our lives. That it was something that we could see the qualitative benefits of applying, and there have to be benefits of applying the Creator's laws, and I could see that taking place, even though it was very young. And I saw us taking responsibility for ourselves, all of which I saw was very essential for us as a developing people. And so from that moment, from that introduction, I dedicated myself to the fulfilling of the vision of the community, of the kingdom, as inspired by our anointed spiritual leader Ben-Ami, and working on behalf of my people and humanity globally, because I feel like if we are not working to ensure the application of the laws of the Creator, who had our best interest at heart when He created us, then what are we doing? What are we doing with our time and energy? And so we have to be very purposeful, very deliberate, and very methodical about it. And so since that time, this is where I've been.
Wow, so your story a little different. You came out here on a journalist, mission.
Right.
And then you end up linking in with the community. Wow, that's interesting. So you wasn't a Hebrew before that?
I was a Hebrew. I wasn't practicing so much as they say. As a child, my grandfather used to teach us that we were the descendants of the biblical Israelites, and we were Israelites. It was our responsibility. Of course, I was a child. It didn't really mean that much to me at that particular time. But as you grow older and you start thinking about your roots and your purpose, then those lessons start to come back to you. And it was a journey of verification for me, because even on the way here to the Holy Land, I was held over in London for a few days because the flights were overbooked, and I was stuck in Heathrow Airport, and I said I was going to be there for 2 weeks. So I was just kind of hanging out in the airport, you know. And one night I was on my way into town for a concert, a music show, and there was a brother on the subway, and he was sitting on the bench waiting for the subway. And as I ran past him to catch his train, he stopped me and asked me to, you know, sit and talk with him for a minute. And I had no reason. I didn't know him. I had no reason. But you talk about providence. So I sat down with him, and he began to share with me that, you know, remember that, you know, that we're the people of the Most Holy. We have a responsibility on this planet. And I was like, why did he stop me to tell me this? But as I sat and listened to him, I was calling the words of my grandfather. And then subsequently, if you fast forward a couple of months later, I'm in Israel and I'm moving around. And I visit the community, which was then in the Nitzachon neighborhood down the street. And when I was sitting with some of the leaders and the elders of the community, they were saying the same words, and it was like, wait a minute, this is more than just coincidence. And so, like I said, it was sealed at that moment that this is where I would be and this is where my energies would go.
Wow, that's interesting, man. We're gonna jump into these questions right quick. So now, let me ask this, because like I really feel, you know, that we, as Hebrew Israelites, we can act like Zechariah, you know, chapter 2, verse 1, that we can be that nation that's not desired and come together, you know, and really form a declaration, you know, of ourselves, you know, and be able to depend on ourselves and not so much of the other nations, you know, be able to depend on ourselves, depend on each other, you know, and then I know eventually through these institutions and us self-governing ourselves as a nation, that we'll be eventually looked upon as a nation, you know, official nation. But it takes for us to work together. Now, let me ask you this. In your opinion, what is the number one problem that's keeping the Hebrew Israelites from becoming a self-reliant nation?
We have to have a shared vision and trust and confidence in each other. Without those things, we'll continually be splintered and can never get the benefit of our collective wisdom, our collective experience, and that becomes a problem. And that's directly contrary to what the world tries to groom us as. You know, you're always told to be your own man, and you know, I'm an individual. And when with the next breath you say, in unity there's strength. So which are you? Are you an individual, or are you strong as one is a declaration of weakness when you say I'm an individual. But when you say in unity there's strength, and you commit yourself to that, then that is a declaration of strength. And so there has to be that kind of unification, that kind of shared vision, and then trust in one another, because without those elements, it won't go forward.
Okay. So unification with each other, instead of being to yourself, because everybody in this world, you know, individualism is promoted big time in the society that we live in. So we put that to the side and understand that things is not going to get accomplished if we're not working, you know, together as a nation. You know, instead of, my camp, my organization, or me doing this, or you doing this, you know, put the minds together and we can create a new world, you know, a real new world.
Exactly.
What proper steps are needed for us, that the children of slaves, to become self-sustainable? Like tell me some proper steps that can be, you know, needed.
Well, again, it goes back to the first principles I mentioned already in terms of sharing. We have to, again, share in a vision, a direction, and then share our resources and our energy, and that then will give us the successes to cause us to continue on. But if we don't do that, then we cannot count on, we cannot expect anything. We'll never be. And then we have, when I continue to mention vision, because if our vision is the same as the prevailing societies on this planet, then we're ensuring that we'll receive the same results. You know, this anti-Yah, anti-God civilizations, which are predominant on the planet today, what we're experiencing socially today is the result of those actions. So we have to have a completely different vision, and in order to ensure that we have even a possibility of creating the solution. Understand? Because we can't have the same vision, we can't have the same goals, we can't value the same things as they do, and not be directed and moved in the same direction and get the same result. Those consequences, as we always say, are written in the earth. if you eat an unhealthy diet, you're going to have an unhealthy body. If you listen to improper, unholy thoughts and entertain unholy thoughts, you're going to do unholy and improper deeds. These things are direct consequences of what you are doing. So we all do what we're being taught. It's the end result of applied knowledge, what we're experiencing. So we must always make sure that our vision is in harmony with the Holy One of Israel.
Okay.
That our objectives are truth, righteousness, and living.
Yeah, that's important. You know, sharing that vision, because I feel like any governmental, you know, construct, you know, people coming together to form, you know, a constitution or a governmental, you know, construct, they have to have a similar, you know, vision, you know, for that to work, you know. And most Hebrew Israelites, you know, we worry about so much of our differences, but we have so much in common, you know, that we can focus on, that can build, you know, that governmental construct that we need. Because there's a lot going on in the world. You got just finished the 12-day war. You know, you got all this going on, and we see, you know, the world governments, you know, eventually they're falling. The scriptures tell you it's falling. It's already falling according to the scriptures. So we just living it out. So it's like, what's next then? When their world fall, what's next? We supposed to be next, you know. So we need to focus on the commonalities and share that same vision that we have in common.
And definitely not look to undermine each other. You know, we can have opposing opinions, but opposing actions is what we can't have. And we can sit down and discuss how we came and how we arrived at particular positions, and then let truth be our guide, let honesty be our guide. But in terms of then taking positions that might undermine one another, no, we don't need that. That's counterproductive.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: should the modern day Hebrew Israelite have a revolutionary mindset or a Greco-Roman Hebrew Israelite mindset? You know, can you just elaborate on those things?
I think you know the answer to that one already.
Yeah.
But our revolution is a revolution of righteousness. You know, we're not looking to buy weapons, arms, and tanks and try to take off. You know, those are not our weapons. Those are His strengths. Our strength is the application of the instructions of Yahweh. That's what distinguishes our people. Even if you go back to Moses in the book of Deuteronomy, in the 4th chapter, it says, "What nation is so great that has all this law, you know, so nigh unto them?" You know, they were able to take the laws and instructions of Moses and distinguish themselves among the peoples, among the nations. And we're doing the same thing, the very same thing. So arms and armaments, which come with the term revolution. Most time when people think about revolution, they think of armed revolution and whatnot. Ours is a revolution of righteousness. And so that's how we will move and distinguish ourselves and gain our strength.
Okay. So the knowledge is the key thing. That's our weapon.
Exactly.
That having that information that we have. You know, I understand it. You know, when the scriptures say, you know, they would come down to Jerusalem. You know, up to Jerusalem. To hit. You know, to get this knowledge, to get this information. And what y'all have here as a community is very knowledgeable, you know, things have been put together, you know, that can have you, you know, self-governing yourself, leading to self-sustainable, leading to self-reliant, you know. And I believe, like, for example, if the governments fall right now, most Hebrew Israelite organizations don't have nothing to fall back on. If the governments fall right now, y'all have something to fall back on because y'all have a self-governing community, you know, so y'all have that to fall back on, you know. Hebrew Israelites in the States and other places that I know around the world, they don't have that. You know, they don't have that. And that's what's missing. Most people want to put the cart before the horse. I be hearing brothers telling me, oh man, we need our own army, man. We need to do this, we need to do farming. And all this stuff is cool. But first you gotta learn to self-govern yourself. Okay? If you can't self-govern yourself, then, you know, we can never get to that level, you know, to that point, you know, to being a self-sufficient nation, you know, a self-reliant nation. We can't get to that point if we can't self-govern ourselves.
We have to mature to a point where we're prepared to put our collective interests ahead of our individual interests. Again, that's contrary to what modern society continues to tell us. But the only way that a body of people can move together in earnest is by everyone subjugating their personal interest for the interest of the whole. And we have learned that, we have done that, performed that, and that is what continue to distinguish and serve us well as we go forward.
Wow, yeah, sharing is caring.
Right.
All right, so now moving along with these questions. This question 4: if Hebrew Israelites are the ones to change the world, then how will we do that if we don't have a certified declaration among ourselves? Like with Zechariah, I mentioned before, Zechariah chapter 2, verse 1. If we're meant to change the world, if we're meant to be that change to the world, how are we going to do those things if we don't have a declaration among ourselves?
Well, first of all, we have to accept the fact that there are some things in this world that are not going to change, and not be changed. And so we're building a world, not changing one.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's a critical distinction, because if we would lose ourselves trying to change the direction of a world that is destined to doom itself. And so it's important for us to make that distinction, so we're not using too much energy trying to change that which cannot be changed, and which is getting the just recompense of its actions, and that we're building another world to stand in complete contrast to this world. And so that becomes first. And then in terms of declarations, declarations are fine. The thing is, you have to be committed. The commitment has to be there to the principles, the ideals of that declaration, be performed, prepared to do them. Because we put a number of things on paper. We have great orators in the midst of us. We've had great teachers in the midst of us. But when you have a body of people who share a vision, agree, and then begin to work toward that, those missing steps are the essential qualities now. We can definitely put together another declaration, but we need to put together the kind of common collective action that goes with it to ensure that it succeeds.
So we need doers, because like you say, we can always put stuff down on paper. You know what I'm saying? We need,
and not to diminish that in any way, because that's an important step, that we have those kinds of things to refer back to. Well, this is what we said we were going to do, but we have to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. Right on. And I like what you said. I'm gonna have to use that now. It's not about changing, because we ain't trying to change the world that's already going in the direction. We're creating our own new world. We're creating it. So why it's not for us to change it? It's for us to create something new, something different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's going to
because there are those who don't want to see that world change. They are convinced that it is the world that they desire, that materialism, the rampant materialism that they have acquired, that some of them have acquired in this world, is enough for them. That's enough payment for them. Not accepting the fact that they're destroying the water, the air, the soil that they needed to survive. They're destroying the very foundation, the substrate, which is needed for them to survive. So they're building in their own doom. And we don't want to, they have desired that world. We don't want to replicate that mistake. And so therefore we have to make sure that we're different, we're going in a different direction. And this world today, I think 10% of the world's population controls 90% of the resources. That's a world worth replicating or continuing? No, that is not the formula for us for a continuing world. That is the formula for doom. So no, we won't do that.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense, man. Like your thinking, man. I like your thinking.
Hallelujah. Likewise.
Now, let me ask you this question 5, because it's a blessing to be able to conduct these interviews and get y'all feedback, y'all understanding on this. Because like I said earlier, even when we create this declaration, among Hebrew Israelites, Dimona gonna be at the forefront of this, what I'm saying? Because y'all got the experience, y'all have the self-governing experience, which is important. Let me ask you this: in your opinion, what's the future state of Hebrew Israelites and in the world in general? What's your opinion?
Our future is determined very explicitly in terms of our pursuit of harmony with Yahweh. As long as we're doing that, then we have a future. If we're not doing that in any way, form, or fashion, we'll pay the cost. And so it's not an elaborate answer on that wise. Yah told us, if you keep my instructions and do them with your whole heart, mind, and soul, that you do those things, then we can expect to thrive. And so that is where we need to make sure we need to put our energy, and that will ensure our future. Other than that, we don't have a future.
Okay. So what would you say, dealing with the world then, outside of Hebrew Israelites? How do you think other nations and the world in general, what's the future state of this world, in your opinion?
Like I said, the restaurant has a date with destiny in terms of, because these systems, these failed social systems, economic systems, education systems, they're failing. Remember, every year they graduate a new group of BAs, MAs, PhDs in economics. How do we still have economic problems then? Because obviously the answers are not there. The correct answers are not there, which will relieve humanity of what's taking place, the suffering which is taking place right now. So we have to accept that reality and realize that's the wrong direction. You know, so that is why we have to make sure that we distinguish ourselves going in a completely other direction. As I mentioned, Ben Ami used to draw a picture for us. He said there's a world that's operating at 100 on the scale, but that's the world that has destroyed the water, destroyed the air, etc. And they're realizing that they need to try to get down to 25 in terms of where 25 is the balance between what you're using and what you're needing, etc. And he said, and we might be at 10 on that scale, or 5, and trying to get up to 25. It's easier for us to get up to that 25 balance than it is for them to come down from that lofty 100 and begin to give up what they have been groomed to feel is real progress. I was speaking to a group of young African leadership in Berlin at a conference back about 10 years ago. And the thing was to tell them the truth, that progress is not that everyone will have a 3-car garage. You know, when we're looking up in our major cities are clogged and smog riddled, and traffic is backed up 5 or 6. That's not progress to have another car in a situation like that. We have to realize that that is not a healthy environment for man or for the environment. So we have to think different and then begin to accept and move according to that new vision. We can't value that which the world has told us is valuable when it's destroying the foundations that we need to survive. We can't think in that way. So materialism is a major deceptive tool which is being used against our people, against all of humanity. And they glorify the materialism of the Western world and never show you the real cost. The real cost is there are bodies of water which are so overrun with garbage that they can't sustain life anymore. And they're areas of the planet that can't grow food anymore. But the lesson we learned during COVID was when the world shut down for 30 days, you know, it actually long, but after 30 days, we saw life coming back to areas of the environment that we thought had been decimated and finished. There were bodies of water that fish hadn't been seen for decades. All of a sudden you saw fish again. You saw animals roaming the streets of urban cities. It was like, what? We can move around in peace now? So the creation, Yah was sending us a message that, hey, I'm still in charge. My creation is waiting for the right people to take charge.
So now, this question 6, why is the Dimona community, you know, the model, the blueprint is important for Hebrew Israelites to understand? Can you let the people know why is that, you know, important, the blueprint that's been established here?
I like to refer back to a sociologist named Robert Merton. Robert Merton. In 1991, he was writing in the Urban League's report in the United States, and he wrote, in the laboratory of the sociologist, like them, he said something like this, like the more secluded laboratories of the physicist or the chemist, it is the one successful experiment that matters. The 1,001 failures that preceded it do not matter once you have done something successfully. It is only important that now you know how to do it, and you replicate what caused it to be successful. Our people have been looking for ways to experience self-governance for centuries. We don't have to look like we're looking for something that is unattainable anymore. We have a people who have done it, who have been the example. And not that we've answered all of the questions, because we're continuing to grow and develop. We're on an ascending realm. We're getting better at what we do. But it is important on that wise that we accept that there is a working model that we can continue to build upon and improve. We don't have to start at zero, you know, again. And that's so important. If I took 20 years, and because people learn according to a trajectory. If I invested 20 years in learning something, and I can teach to you in 20 weeks, wouldn't it be better for you to learn in the 20 weeks rather than spend the same 20 years that I spent? And it's really that simple in terms of sitting down and say, well, how did you do this, and why did you do this? And we can explain the trajectory of learning, the mistakes we made in the process, the things that caused us to settle on doing things this way. What were those things? To have that experience, someone who's gone before you, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know? Right. You gotta, let's keep using it. Let's use it. Now that's well answered though. That's well answered because it's already established and it's already been working. Like you said, for over 50 years. Then why not, take this blueprint, and expand on it.
Right.
Question 7. Now, what is the number one institution Hebrew Israelites need to be recognized as a nation? Like, what would you say is maybe the number 1 or number 2 institutions that need to be, that we need as Hebrew Israelites to be recognized as a nation by the world powers, or just by the world in general?
I don't know if there's one particular when they see a body of people who are charting their own course, setting their own vision, their own course, abiding by their own rules and leadership. That's going to be respected, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever institution that might have predicated its vision to the rest of the world, because people have constitutions. Some countries don't have constitutions, but they're still recognized as a country. So it's going to be our commitment to certain principles and our movement together, which will continue to distinguish us and cause us to be respected. So it can take a number of different institutions, but that is the principle which must come forward.
Okay. Collectiveness. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's well answered. Because me just trying to pick your brain. That's well answered because it's not just a particular institution. It's the collectiveness of us coming together with these institutions. That's what's going to allow us to be
having divinely inspired leadership is essential. Leadership, which is, as I said, which is committed to Yahweh and applying His instructions, making sure that we're on that path. That becomes the most essential in terms of ensuring that we have a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You gotta have a fighting chance.
Right.
That. Okay. Excellent. Let me ask you this: why is it important for us? And when I say us, I mean the children of slaves, but just in people in general. Just not Hebrew Israelites, but just people in general who has a conscious mind and wanna create a new world. What is the important? Why is it important for us to have autonomy?
Our autonomy is essential because we must speak in one voice to ensure our direction. We have to have that one voice. Again, not that everyone will always agree, but we subject our individual positions for the benefit of the whole. And that becomes a distinguishing characteristic of autonomy. You're charting your own direction. And therefore you gain the respect of others because they see a people who are committed to their own ideals and principles, and they garner respect. They move as a group, they move as a block, and they're not able to be splintered or fractured and weakened, and that becomes the benefit of that autonomy.
Okay, so that beacon of light.
Exactly.
Okay. Now this right here, I definitely want to hear your take on this. Hebrew Israelites, we are awakened to our culture. All around the world, we are awakened to our culture, to our cultural identity. But are we still mentally asleep as a nation? Even though we are awakened to our identity, are we still mentally asleep and spiritually asleep as a nation?
Well, remember, culture is a very vast, multifaceted reality. For us, first of all, culture is observable worship because Yahweh gave us some very particular things which would distinguish our culture from the others. And so in terms of upholding those cultural standards becomes extremely important for us. We also know these Western anti-Yah civilizations have also proclaimed that their soft power or their cultural power is their most vital. That places where they can't go in militarily, they go in with McDonald's, or they go in with Burger King or Pepsi and whatnot, and before you know it, they have a foothold in these particular countries and are beginning then to exert their power from within. There was a a CEO from Netscape, was an IT company some years ago, said he knew the Berlin Wall would fall when he realized that the most popular television show in East Berlin, which was a communist country at that time, was Dallas. He said those people are ingesting the values of America, and they're going to ultimately want that themselves.
Wow.
And so it became,
Wow.
so that culture, the cultural influence of the West over foreign people who were not pursuing Yah, that took a hold and ultimately led to the fall of the Berlin Wall, but didn't lead to the righteous progression of the people. Yes, it changed the governmental structure, but not the direction. Why do I say that? Because there's still pollution, there's still corruption, there's still, you understand? So all those things which threaten humanity's livelihood period, those things are still in place. So while they changed governmental structure, they didn't change the direction of the society. So it's important for us to always realize that within our culture is tied directly to our representation or our allegiance with Yah Yahuwah. Our clothes must speak to that. Our diet must speak to that. Our entertainment must speak to that. Our music must speak to that. All those are identifying characteristics will tie us back to our Creator. And that is a full cultural realm which becomes essential. And again, but it's under vigorous assault in this world today. This social media driven world, communications driven world is all about a decimation of divine culture and replacing it with quote unquote pop culture or popular culture, which has no redeeming qualities other than it makes somebody some money and you can make it popular instead of never considering, is this pleasing unto Yah? You know, because there is a lifestyle which causes you to think divine thoughts, and there are clothes that cause you to think undivine thoughts. And so are you making that kind of conscious determination as you're getting dressed? Are you saying that I want to show myself as a Yah-centered individual, as a holy, bold individual, as a humble individual before Yah? How do I dress that expresses that? Or am I thinking, I need to be cool in today's eyes? So that's two different standards and two different ultimate objectives. And when you're talking about just using dress, you use music, it's the same thing. Is this music, is it just hidden? Is it a good beat? Or is there a message in this music that causes me to think divine thoughts, to think higher, to think better, to improve myself? Two different directions altogether. And that distinction has to be made in our cultural choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. Excellent job with answering these questions, man. This is the last question now. Doctrine. Doctrine can be very selective. You as you can see throughout the different religions, the different, ideologies with just Hebrew Israelites, doctrine can be very selective. So what are some commonalities that we have as Hebrew Israelites? We could just talk about a couple of them, that can enlighten the people on some of these commonalities that we have as Hebrew Israelites out here.
Well, our foundation is fundamentally the Holy Scriptures. And we might have some different interpretations thereof, but I think we have the maturity now that we can sit down and discuss, those things which we do see in common and those things which might vary between us, without it becoming belligerent. And because again, we have the experience to talk about why we feel it and how we came to this conclusion and what were the distinguishing factors which made something dear to us. And I think that kind of maturity is what's called for at this daytime and season. And a realization. Remember, when we re-entered the Holy Land, in 1969 as a body, in 68 when Prince Immanuel and Ben Ami first arrived, that was the end of Israel's exile. Hebrew Israelites, that was the end of our exile. So things look different from here now. We're not still trying to figure out how to get back to the land. We're in the land, and we're building institutions to sustain us as a people. That's a different perspective altogether. And so it's accepting of these historical facts and using them as proof that Yah is keeping His word in the midst of us, that then gives us confidence to take on the next challenge. And so that's where we are now in terms of very grateful to the Creator for having blessed us to experience so much in our lives, to be here to watch, to develop the kinds of institutions that we know are a completely different direction than those that we grew up in or those of us who came from the States, and giving us an opportunity to raise our children completely different from that. That is a blessing that we can't downplay in any way, form, or fashion. And that has come about because we are no longer in exile. We're back in this land.
Yeah.
And we're creating institutions to be a light unto our people.
Well,
And give glory unto Yah.
That's prophecy and historically, in itself, So, I truly believe, the day is coming where, we can maturely, like you said, maturely sit down with our biblical principles, with the biblical foundation that we have as Hebrew Israelites, and be like, you know what? Okay, let's put the doctrine to the side. Let's maturely let's talk about what we need to do as a nation, as a collective, to move forward, with this new world that's need to be created. Because when this world falls, it's our turn next. We up next, and we have to have it already.
Only if we qualify.
Yeah.
Only if we qualify.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it is falling as we see it. Now, are we creating the institutions and investing ourselves in the sustaining of those institutions such that it can serve us and that people can see the benefit thereof? That's our challenge. We accept it. We're glad for the opportunity. We wanted the chance. Growing up, we knew intrinsically and that instinctively that something was wrong with what we were experiencing, and it wasn't getting better. And so now we have the opportunity. It's in our hands to make it better. I like those odds.
Okay. Yeah. And it was a blessing, definitely, to interview you, and we're gonna do many more. Cause I'm out here to stay. Yeah, I'm out here. And it's a blessing, man. From Kenya to Israel, I love seeing your face. I love chopping up with you, talking with you. And it's just a blessing, man. Blessing. I appreciate you.
Y'all bless and keep you safe, strong, and eternally in His service.
Appreciate it, man. I'm trying to learn, from brothers like y'all. That's gonna keep me, keep me grounded and keep me elevated,
Well, that's how we keep each other grounded and elevated. That we inhale information, truth, and we exhale truth in terms of that continue causing each other to ascend in terms of elevating our understanding and application thereof. So
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah.